Go. Okay. So what's going on, people? It is Wednesday, the 10th of August. And as I told you, I have a very special guest with me today to share with you, Mr. Ron E. Beck, best known probably to a lot of you as the drummer for Tower of Power most recently. Ron, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
How you doing, man?
That's good, man. Get to hang out with a homeboy.
For real, Omaha in the house.
There you go.
Yeah, you're looking really well. You're looking really well. So I've been asking to start off, how are you doing post-COVID?
Things are starting to pick up, man. You know, it was the quarantining and social distancing and all of that stuff, man. Dude, in 2020, it was like no traffic on the freeway.
Yeah.
It was crazy, man. I was like, whoa.
Like the Twilight Zone, huh?
Well, we just lost 2 years, man, like that.
We really did. We really did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good to get back in the cut. Well, Ron, let's take it back to the beginning, because myself, I come from a musical family, and you do too. And we have some common ground there. But your mom, rest in peace, we just lost your mom, Jean. But it's like, it seems like you were raised in a very musical household. Tell me about your musical journey that brought you up to becoming a musician yourself.
Well, it started as 8 or 9 years old in an old house on Bristol Street, which is—
I remember it.
Yeah, we had 2 houses on Bristol Street, and I was just there last year, and they both torn down. So my brother and I are thinking about buying those properties and putting a monument up.
Nice.
We're also trying to get that street named after my mom.
Excellent idea.
And also my sister Carol, who you know, is trying to get Druid Hill School, where she retired from, named after her. And she says it looks like they're going to do it. So hopefully there'll be a couple of monuments there dedicated to my mom.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
So anyway, going back to your original question, is the music thing started, man. My mom was a musician. She was a child prodigy, started playing piano. My grandmother bought, and her husband at that time bought her a piano at 4 years old.
Wow.
And there's always a piano in our house. You know, my grandmother had 3 houses, and well, 2 of them had the piano in it. Actually, only one of them really had the piano. I take that back. Anyway, that's what it was. My mom's band used to practice, and we as kids would sneak down in the evening on the stairway and look through the banister and watch the musicians.
Right.
At that time, she was playing with a name you might remember, Cliff Dudley.
I do remember Cliff Dudley. You know,
a trombone player.
Absolutely,
and
yes.
The Savoy 7 was the name of the band, and they had,
yes.
They were kind of big band arrangements and stuff. And then we used to watch that. And then eventually, my twin brother Donnie, and I started our own band, which was the Afro Brass back in the 60s.
And I didn't get to see you guys. I never got to see you, but for a time, you guys were the big deal.
Well, we were trying to do like those bands. The horn band thing was happening back then, Chicago and all of those guys, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So we had 5 horns and a rhythm section, and a lot of guys were in that band. Robert Griffo, aka Shabaka.
Shabaka, yeah.
Who else was in the band? Tony Calabro was in the band. And, John Maller was in the band. Stimsy Hunter was in the band.
The Cats.
Band.
The Cats.
Yeah. And then my younger brother Keith and Carol had their own band.
Right.
So we had 3 different bands. You know, Mom and those guys would rehearse maybe, because all of those guys had day gigs and stuff, and they were just weekend musicians.
Yeah.
But us as youngsters, we were trying to get into the music. So scheduling rehearsal was always interesting.
I bet.
Yeah.
House full of people all the time, huh?
The front door was never locked. The refrigerator was always empty. There's cigarette butts and beer cans everywhere. Yeah, it was great. But everybody loved it.
I have to tell you, Ron, I don't remember you from then, but I know that I was there with my dad for some of those sessions. You know, my dad, Red.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be down there jamming with your mom and other folks.
Man, speaking of which, what's your dad's real name, man?
James.
It is
James.
James.
It
Okay,
is
so
James.
James
Yes.
is James Jr. Okay.
James the third. The third.
Oh, James the third. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
James Red Higgins. Okay, I think I knew that, but I've forgotten. Hey, babe, can you come close this door for me, please?
So at some point, did you decide to go pro, or was it just kind of a natural progression into the professional life?
Well, at first, I hadn't thought about it being professional, being a professional musician. My brother Donnie had always aspired to be a professional musician, even as a young teenager.
Yes.
He was way more serious about it than I was. But eventually, you know, as I started to see the conversations that guys would have and the musicians hanging out, talking music, that really excited me. I wanted to take part in that, but I didn't know nothing.
Yes.
Donnie did. Donnie has perfect pitch. My mom had perfect pitch. And they both could talk theory and harmony and progressions and stuff. And man, I said, man, I want to learn some of that music talk.
Yes.
And as I got older, I started getting serious around 14.
Okay.
And I knew then by the time I was 16, I kind of knew that's what I wanted.
Okay. Now, is that what got you to move from the Midwest? Was the music?
Yes, it was the music.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Herbie Rich.
Yes.
Buddy Miles.
Yes.
Cindy Hunter. Andre Lewis, all those cats. I think, you know, I'm not sure when Andre left Omaha, but for sure, Herbie, Stimsy, and Buddy, they all left and came to San Francisco.
Right. Electric Flag.
Yeah, the Electric Flag in the late 60s, 68, 69.
Yes.
In fact, it was for 66, I think, when they left.
Yeah.
Keys also left in the late 60s and came to the West Coast.
Yeah.
So all of our heroes had come west.
Yes. Yeah.
So we knew that we had, if we wanted to stay with the music thing, and we also had kind of topped out in Omaha as far as like where we were at, because my brother and I used to practice relentlessly. We skipped school and practice all day.
Yes. Yes.
So we were kind of distancing ourselves from the local guys that were just hobbyists, and we were getting serious about it. So we had to go where the competition was a little bit greater than it was.
Right on, right on, right on. Awesome, awesome. You know, this is one of the albums from your that I have of yours, playing with Clifford Coulter. Now, is your brother on here as well?
No, Donnie's not.
It's just you, okay?
Yeah.
Where does this fit in with your move out to the West Coast and getting involved with music? Is this like early recording sessions for you, or were you already kind of in process when this came out?
No, that guy right there, Clifford Coulter, was the one that really kind of broke me into the scene.
That's wonderful. I'm glad I have the record and got to ask you. Okay. Now he's got some other records. Is this the only one that you're on?
No, I'm on that one. And we did another, that was 1971 when that record was done.
Okay.
And I was there all the way. And Clifford was the hot keyboard player out in San Jose. You know, when I came to San Jose, you hear about these guys. Man, you got to hear this dude and that dude. And Clifford, I'd been hearing his name. And I came out here first in 1970. And then I went back home and came back and moved in 1971.
Okay.
And then we did those albums. And I did a fair amount of sessions hanging out with Clifford. When we did that album, before that, I was hanging with Cliff. He said, man, you want to go to LA with me, man? I got some sessions. I said, hell yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was hanging out, and it was John Lee Hooker sessions. We did a couple of records with him.
Nice.
Did a record with Clifford. And then in 1980, Clifford did another record with Bill Withers, because Bill Withers and Clifford were friends when Bill used to live in San Jose. And that was a great record, man. I don't have the actual album here, man, but it's called The Better Part of Me. It's a really, really amazingly good record.
I know which album that is. I sure do. So, well, tell me about this now. You're on this album, Patrick Gleason, Star Wars.
That was 1976, wasn't it?
Now, yes. Now, see, I love electronic music. Okay. Yeah. So this is just awesome that you're on the Star Wars theme playing the drums. How'd you get this session?
Well, at that time I was with Tower Power, and I had met Pat Gleason.
Oh, okay.
And you know, when you're with the name band, people kind of get your name out there.
Right, right.
And, he called. Matter of fact, the other guy that I'm sure you can appreciate is on that record is Harvey Mason.
Yes, Bad Mother. And, both of y'all, Bad Mothers.
Well, the thing with Pat had gone to see the movie Star Wars in '76 when it came out,
Mhm.
and he wanted to do the theme music from the movie, but with synthesizers, because he was dealing with EMU synthesizers, and he had a whole wall of
I can imagine.
synthesizer banks.
I can
So he
imagine.
said, yeah, man, I'm gonna do the Star Wars theme with my synthesizers, emulating all the sounds, but
Mhm.
I want to use real drums. I said, okay. He said, man, I got a couple of songs I want you to play on. So I went to his studio in San Francisco, nice studio,
Yes.
which is still there, but I don't. Patrick doesn't own it anymore. Different fur. And
Different fur, yes. Mhm.
yeah, and he
Mhm.
called me and I went in, and then he told me, he said, yeah, man, Harvey Mason was here yesterday. I said, what? Y'all be on a record that Harvey Mason played on?
Yeah. That's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? Get a little bit nervous and like,
Mhm.
but no, I held my own, man.
You
And he
sure did.
also, yeah,
Yeah,
he said,
you,
man,
yeah.
don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
So then let's back it up then. Tell me about getting involved, becoming a member of Tower of Power. That's massive to me. Now, I don't have the Tower of Power albums that you're on. I have the first one, which to me is East Bay Grease, is a classic funk album.
Yeah.
And Tower of Power to me is one of the most powerful funk bands that exist. Tell me about getting involved in that amazing band.
Well, it was a godsend, because I was gigging in Oakland at the time. Matter of fact, Clifford Coulter was also a very fine guitarist, and another brother from Oakland named John Turk was an organist and played trumpet at the same time. And I was playing drums. We had a trio,
Wow.
3rd Street Annex.
Okay.
And we were gigging 5 nights a week in Oakland, and it was Superfly days back then, man. And all the cats was hanging out, and the girls, the ladies of the night was hanging out.
No doubt. Dressed to the max.
Big hats,
Yeah.
big collars,
Mhm.
big cars,
Yeah.
big money. And by 10, the girls got to hang out for the first set, and then they had to go to work. And then
Yes.
the players would be there hanging out, looking to do what they do.
Right.
So that was the scene, man. It was great.
Mhm.
Superfly to Mac, all that. And Bruce Conti was playing guitar with Tower at that time. And the guitar player in our band, a guy named Bill Burgess, was taking lessons from Bruce Conti. And Bruce used to come and sit in with our band because we had a hot band, man.
Okay.
And it was 1975 when Bruce was coming in Fairmount, man. And he asked me, he said, hey, man, David's getting ready to lead the band, man. Do you want to audition? I said, yeah. And I just got fired from John Turk's band, so I didn't have a gig.
Okay.
I was about to go do a day gig. So I was like, as a matter of fact, I did a gig for a minute playing at the strip club.
Yeah. Seems like strip clubs are always in there somewhere in the history.
Well, it was a lot. They would have live bands before DJs, and because now it's all DJs, but back then, man, it would be a live band playing at the strip club.
Right.
Anyway, and Bruce said, hey, man, you want to audition? I said, heck yeah, man, I auditioned. So I ain't got a gig.
Yeah.
And Bruce really helped me, man. He gave me some albums. He said, man, we'll probably do this song. He just told me which songs to learn. And I finally got to do the audition. And I met all the guys. And I knew Chester Thompson, the keyboard player, from before, because Chester had come through Omaha with a band, with the organ trio back then.
Wow. I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah, Chester came through. I think they were called the Presidents.
Okay.
Chester Thompson on the organ. Rudy Johnson was a saxophone player, a phenomenal player, and Herschel Davis was playing drums.
Nice.
And they were playing at Patrick's up on 31st and Lake.
Okay.
Yeah, remember that?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, so I knew Chester from then, and when he came to Omaha, he was like 19 or 20 years old, so we was all really young. Anyway, I did the audition. And he said, yeah, we'll call you. I said, okay. So I didn't hear nothing for about 3 or 4 weeks. And I said, well, I guess I didn't get it. Plus, I had never auditioned for anything before.
Yes. Okay.
Finally got the call and said, hey, man, the guys like you. I said, really? He said, yeah, man, do you want to join the band? I said, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's a heck of a compliment, because David Garibaldi, that's no slouch as a drummer.
No, that's right.
That's a high compliment that you can step into that chair, and you held it down.
Well, thank you, James. I'm calling you James again. Thank you, Derek.
So
Um,
did you used to hang out with my brother James? Is that what that's about?
well, I knew James and him. I've talked over the years, man. But
Okay.
it's just, he was of the siblings. I knew him the best,
Okay.
and
But
not
back
that
to
I knew
Tower of
him
Power.
that well. Yeah.
Cool. But back to Tower of Power. This is great to hear the story, Ron. Wonderful.
Well, something that you mentioned that because David Garibaldi had a very unique way of playing.
Hmm.
I
Yes.
mean, stuff he did was like it was
Yes.
different. It was different. The technique, his whole approach was very different, man.
Yes. Yes.
And at the time I joined the band, the leader of the band, Emilio Castillo, we call Mimi, he said, man, you gotta learn David's stuff.
Hmm.
I had to learn his drum parts to be a part of that band because the horn arrangements and a lot of things were built around David Garibaldi's iconic style of drumming.
Yes. Iconic is correct too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
So I learned it as best I could. And then as a matter of fact, the night that I auditioned for the band, David was there.
Ooh.
And dude, it was at SIR, which is Studio Instrument Rentals in San Francisco. They
I
got
know
San
I know the
Francisco,
place.
LA, Chicago, New York. At that time, they were the big place where all the guys rented their gear for shows and stuff, or they had rehearsal studios there, and all the main bands rehearsed there. Sly used to rehearse there, Larry Graham rehearsed there, Tower Power rehearsed there, Santana rehearsed there. So I mean, it
Yeah.
was like
Wow.
the who's who in Northern California rehearsed the studio instrument
Yeah.
rental.
Yeah.
Anyway, I walk in there and David's there, man. And I was nervous. And David shook my hand. He said, hey, man, you Ronnie Beck? I said, yeah. He said, I heard about you. I said, really? And then he says, man, you got this. And
Nice.
Dereck, it calmed me down. It really did. He
Yeah.
said, you got this.
That's wonderful.
And little did he know, I did have that.
But that's beautiful. He was man enough to pass the torch.
And he's that kind of guy. David's a very logical kind of guy. Even in his playing, the things he does are very logical. And see, David plays from here. Thinks of stuff, man, and he comes up with some ridiculous stuff.
That's for sure.
But if you
For
come
sure.
in, so what I would do is I would open my head up and learn, and David would hand me a chart. I said, man, I don't read, man. Because I asked him, I said, man, how you play that beat to stroke 75? And he handed me a chart. I said, man, come on, show me the beat. And he handed me, I said, man, I don't read. So he wouldn't show me nothing. He handed me a chart of his beat, right? But that was cool because he and I were very competitive in those years, man.
Yes.
We were both young and, young men out there trying to make our names, man.
Exactly. Exactly.
But as we've gotten older, he and I have kind of really have a beautiful relationship, man. I talk, call him, we talk and stuff and just share thoughts and ideas,
That's wonderful, Ron. It
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like it seems like overall, even though being a musician can be quite the slog and it can be quite a struggle, I imagine for the most part you've had a lot of really good experiences with music.
My greatest experiences were with Tower. Well, I have to say, hanging out with Clifford back in the day and seeing some of the LA top first call musicians and stuff, and seeing how they carried themselves. And, it was a business for them, man. And for me, music was a party.
Yes, yes.
As a young man, it was a party.
Yeah, yeah.
24/7 party.
No doubt.
But then to really be successful, you really do have to look at it like, okay, this is my job. Just like professional sports, man. It's not fun and games anymore. This is for a lot of money.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of money for me necessarily, but you're in a status and you have to take care of business, man. And there's guys that understand, and the successful guys truly understand that part of the game.
Yeah. It's a lot of stress too. You have to kind of be built for that.
Not really, man. It's stressful if you allow it to be, man. If you understand where you're at and you don't put stress on yourself, don't stress yourself. Just go into, my mom used to say, if you're not expandable, you're expendable.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that's very true, man, because you have to know your place, man, but you also have to recognize that there's enough room out here for everybody. Because a lot of guys, especially in small towns like Omaha and Oakland or San Jose, each little town has got its own little group, core people that, they become territorial, man. And and they don't want people to intrude on their territory. But man, I tell cats all the time, dude, you do what you do, I do what I do, and he does what he does down there.
That's
And
right.
guess what?
Hmm.
There's room for all of us.
Sure
And I
is.
tell the young cats that all the time, dude, do not think like you have carved out some area that's yours. You
Hmm.
don't own none of this.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. So let's bring it up to more of the current times now. On Discogs, you're still listed as the current drummer of Tower Power, but you're not with them.
No, I was only with Tower from 1975 to 1978.
Okay, so they haven't updated. But you're doing your own thing. I want to kind of get to the point to talk about your music now. You shared with me a video that you made a couple years ago, was it, or recently?
It was in December of 2020, as a matter of fact. I think it was the 2020 or 20, yeah, I think it was 2020.
Okay.
When the COVID thing was happening, man, it was crazy, man, because when we were
Right.
doing the video, it was all green screen,
Hmm.
and we only brought in people one at a time. And Peter Michael Escobedo, which is Sheila E.'s brother.
I thought I recognized that last name.
No,
Okay.
he's a great videographer too, great producer, very professional, man. He came up from LA to San Jose and recorded the video at the studio where we recorded. They have a warehouse, and he set up his green screen, and he set up, said, no, we're not going to have a lot of people in here. He had a thermometer. He was checking people's temperature as they came out. I mean, he was on it.
Wow.
And there would be one or two people at a time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we blocked out the studio for 2 days to do that video, man. And it was
It's
beautiful,
beautiful.
man, just to watch the whole thing come together, and then to see how he interpreted the song.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it was going to look like. It was a green screen.
Uh-huh.
And
It's
when I
beautiful.
saw it, I said, oh man, Peter Michael, man, dude, this is ridiculous. Because I love the fact that he gave it an East Coast feel.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You know,
It's top quality. It's beautiful. And the message. So let me not jump. So after Tower Power, have you been having your own groups? Is that what's like leading up to this video? Tell me about what you've been.
no, there's a big space in between there.
Okay, okay.
So 1978 was within ended with Tower Power. David came back to the band. In fact, Chester Thompson told me, he said, man, Ronnie, we're in Phoenix, man. And I was feeling this vibe from the whole band.
Mm-hmm.
Like something ain't right. And
Mm-hmm.
Chester finally pulled me aside and said, hey man, they're getting David back.
Wow.
And I thought that was my gig, because I really felt like I was doing a good job. And all the guys in the band really liked the way I played. All of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but that seat has always been David Garibaldi's seat, and that's something that I had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Mm-hmm.
no, dude, you just kind of marking time here, David. But I understand now, because he's left the band a few times. In fact, he had left the band twice before I got in the band.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was like the third time he had left the band when I joined the band, and then he came back. But he's been with the band now for the past 25, almost 30 years.
Okay. Okay.
But before that, you know, he would leave the band and come back. He would go do other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for various reasons, he would, you know, but David is a very smart guy, very logical person, and I respect that about him. At any rate, 1978, and then I did kind of, well, I don't know what I did in 78. Well, I kind of gigged around locally. And in 1979, oh, I know what happened. The last album we did with Tower Power, which was that I played on, was We Came to Play.
Okay.
And Steve Cropper, the guitar player from Booker T and the
Booker T, yeah.
produced that record.
Nice.
So I get a call from Steve Cropper and say, hey man, you want to come to LA? I got a session for you. I said, heck yeah, man. I was around gigging locally. Yeah, for sure I'm coming to LA to do some sessions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was from Marilyn McCool and Billy Davis Jr. from the Fifth
Oh,
Dimension.
yeah.
And they had split, they had left the Fifth Dimension. And I did this recording with them. And then Billy called me and said, hey man, no, I think the music director approached me and said, hey, we're looking for a drummer, man. Do you want to do the gig? I said, hell yeah.
Nice.
A touring band, Marilyn McCool,
Yeah.
Billy Davis Jr., they were just coming off a Grammy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you don't have to be a star.
Yeah. Big song. Great
To
song.
be in my, and they had
Yeah.
their own TV show, a summer series that was like in the 70s. And so
Yes,
they were hot.
they were. I remember it.
Yeah, they were very hot, man. And I did that gig for, actually, that only lasted about a year, because at that time, Marilyn was kind of having some health issues. So we did a few gigs, and some nice gigs. And then they kind of took a sabbatical and didn't even tour for like a year or two. So that only
Okay.
lasted for a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I did get a day job.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for about 3 years, and then I got a call to play with the amazing quintet that we had in San Jose. It was called a Danny Hull Quintet. Danny was a great saxophone player and singer.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy in that band was Tony Lindsay, who sang lead for Santana for like 25 years. He went on to do that after that band. So this is the 80s.
Nice.
And we had the hottest band in the South Bay in the 80s, man. We were working 4 regular gigs during the week. Like when we had Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday and Saturday every week.
Mm.
We had 4 definite gigs. And then we always did a wedding on Saturday afternoon, and then we go to the gig at night. So we were busy.
No
And
doubt.
we made good money. And we had a great band. We had 3 lead vocalists, and I was singing lead. Tony Lindsay, of course, was playing percussion and singing lead, and then Danny Hull was a saxophone player and lead of the band, and he sang lead, and we would sing 3-part harmonies on Stevie Wonder songs.
Nice.
It was beautiful.
Very cool.
So we were not only were good musicians, we had great vocals, because a lot of bands focus on the music, man, and didn't have a lead singer.
Right.
Everybody else in the band would sing. Nowadays, that's changed because everybody sings.
Everybody sings, yeah.
So we were one of the first groups to really good musicians and good singing.
Mm-hmm.
And that carried me through pretty much through the 80s and to the 90s. I hooked up with this chick named Sister Monica. And her name was Monica Parker from Chicago, this big girl, blues singer. She wasn't really a blues singer. She was more of a gospel singer.
Okay.
She wanted to hit the blues circuit because she had that look. And she definitely got into the blues circuit, man. She took me all over Europe, Canada, United States. I mean, we were a hot blues band. In fact, a lot of the named blues acts didn't want to follow us because we had a great band.
Now that's saying something.
Oh, you know, we were kicking some butt, man. Yeah. A lot of those guys were getting older too, so we were kind of the next generation blues cats, you know.
Yeah.
When we were touring, man, the guys are, man, let's see, who was we? I can't even think of some of those guys' names, but they were all in their 60s and stuff.
Right. Well, one of your contemporaries was probably Shemekia Copeland.
Shemekia Copeland. Yeah, we just, as a matter of fact, Shemekia was Monica's nemesis because Shemekia was doing it.
Yeah. Now, see, I figured that much. I've met Shemekia. That's why she came to mind. So you were doing it.
Well, plus Shemekia came in with royalty because her daddy Johnny Copeland was he was already an icon.
Right. Yeah, nothing you can do about that.
And Monica had to work her way up. So, but we did some gigs together with Shemekia and Monica, and it was, and you can tell women sometimes they're very competitive.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
nice.
It was great. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I remember the bass player in our band at that time had eyes on Shemekia, and he followed her around all around. What are you doing? I said, man, I'm trying to talk to Shemekia. I said, man, all right. I think he succeeded. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
I heard that. Well, we know how things go.
On the road, yes.
That's beautiful. So you did the blues thing, and then let's take it into the 2000s. Have you been playing much?
Yes, I was. Matter of fact, you helping me with the chronology of this whole thing. In the early 2000s, actually in the late 90s, 1999, there was a young cat up in San Francisco that started his own independent record label. It's called Wide Hive Records, Wide Hive.
Okay.
And what he was trying to do was bring some old cats and some young cats together. We wanted to make this melange of old school R&B and then hip hop, cats scratching and DJs and stuff. And it was interesting. And it was very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So I did that in the early 2000s. As a matter of fact, actually through Sister Monica and I asked him to come help us on some stuff we were doing up there. We called Fred Wesley, trombone player and a horn arranger from James Brown and Parliament.
Yeah.
Fred was a serious cat, man. Love that cat, man. Yeah. Anyway, he came through for us. But yeah, we made some really, really good records, man. I was playing drums. We had a young cat on the upright bass. had this young chick playing the Rhodes.
Mhm.
And we had a DJ that was scratching vinyl and stuff, man. He was really, and this cat had a vinyl collection looked like yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was some very interesting music, man. But thing about an indie label, as I'm sure you know, man, takes a lot of money to promote and market, because that's the whole
Right.
game, man.
Right. Right.
Years ago, you could make something that'll grow legs. Nowadays, it's all about marketing and
It's
promotion.
real tough. It's real tough. That's why I'm feeling blessed with what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? How it's going. Yeah. So 2000s, and then after that collaboration.
Well, that lasted until about 2004.
Okay. Mhm.
2003, and I had already kind of started doing my own stuff on the side. I did my first CD.
Yeah. Show it. Okay. 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 Love Comes and Goes. Okay.
That was 1998.
Okay.
That was my first CD, man. And actually, I was with Sister Monica when I did this CD, man, because I was wanting to. The blues thing was just, it was not challenging enough for me, because blues to me, I mean, just it has nostalgia and it has value, because that's our music.
Right. But
Black people, that is our music. But
yeah,
it's you know,
same thing over and over though.
dude, I got tired of shuffling.
But I tell you what, if you can shuffle, that's quite the compliment, because you as a drummer know that shuffle is not easy.
It's not easy, and it's also something that young guys never learn, man. Like when I was coming up, man, you had to know. Plus there were hit records that had shuffles on them, so you had to learn
Yes.
how to shuffle. And
Yes, you did.
they were shuffling.
Yeah.
People danced to the shuffle.
Yeah.
And then when they went to the backbeat, cats eventually stopped learning how to shuffle. And the young cats now, some do, most don't.
Most don't at all. No. Yeah.
And that was something that I found out when I was working with Steve Cropper down in LA, man. It was just him and I in the studio, and he asked me, say, hey, Brian, he had a Southern accent.
Mhm.
You know how to do a shuffle? I said, yeah, man, I know how to shuffle. He said, well, play me a shuffle. So he's sitting in the control room. I went in the studio with my drums and set up and played him a shuffle. And he put on an intercom, now play me a double shuffle. I said, I know how to play a double shuffle, and I played a double shuffle. And then we hit it off right then. He said, man, you know how to play a double shuffle.
Yeah,
so I passed the test.
There you go, because it's like gold. It's like gold. It's like it's almost like a lost art.
It is a lost art.
Yeah.
And I have a drum masterclass coming up next month. It's in September. Well, this is August, so next month is September.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to talk about the shuffle and it being kind of a lost art, and then show. That's one thing I appreciate about the blues circuit. Blues is way more sophisticated than people think it is.
Yes, I had to learn that the hard way when I was younger.
Yeah.
So you're teaching then as well, eh? Lecturing?
I was teaching, man, and then COVID stopped all of that, because I used to go to my students' home. And first I had my own studio, man. Dude, I was teaching to pay rent for my studio.
Yeah.
I said, man, I got to make some money for this. So I started going to my students' home and charging them more, because I was driving, man. And then I started to see the money, and that was great. I was doing that. I started that in 2008 through 2019. Yeah. 2020 when COVID hit. And it was great, man. I made a lot of friends, man, a lot of families, and also a lot of other ethnicities, man. Most of my students were from India, from Israel, or Caucasian Americans. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think I've had maybe 2 Black students.
Interesting. Now that kind of,
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, that kind of flows into the message of the video, your latest video about people. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I'll be happy to talk about that, because I have that has not been officially. The video is released, but the song itself is not on any streaming sites. That's what I was wondering, is what's besides that, what the plan is for it, but the message, it's like, your take on it with the fact that there is a lot of racial blending, and I just really like the way you put it across, Ron. That's where I'm coming from, is humanity. I think it's a beautiful message,
I just think it's awesome, Ron, that that's what you're about.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And I have to tell you what my inspiration was on that song when I wrote it, co-wrote it with my guitar player. If you look at TV commercials nowadays, man, most, if not all of the kids on there are biracial.
Yes, 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 you're right.
And now they're starting to show biracial couples there, and it ain't just black guys or white girls. It's like sisters with white guys.
Right, right.
And you saw all these other ethnicities, man. Latinx with somebody else. I mean, so racial, to me, that is a recipe for peace and calm in the world, is racial blending. If we, all of my grandkids are biracial. I have 5 grandkids and they're all biracial, and I'm cool with it. In fact, I had a brother ask me one time, because none of my daughters married a black man.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
And my second daughter, or my center daughter, has since remarried, and she's married to a black man. And she kind of like, oh, this is different. I said, yeah.
I know what you're saying, Ron.
Well, the other thing is too, Dereck, when my girls were teenagers in high school and stuff, man, and the brothers they was bringing by the house, I didn't want them to marry them brothers, man. I mean,
Well, yeah, you know,
players and trying to sling drugs. And
totally.
One dude came by the house and honked the horn outside, and my daughter was getting ready to run outside, and I blocked the door. I said, "No, you're not going nowhere. Why not? My date's out there." I said, "No." That MF got to come in and let me squeeze his hand.
That's right.
So I said, you go tell him, you open the door and you tell him to bring his ass to my door.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, exactly.
I said, no. And she did, and I grabbed his hand. I said, "What's your name, boy?" I squeezed his hand. I said, "Yeah, man, you bring my daughter back here like the way you took her out from here."
Amen.
Yeah, and it better be before midnight.
See, because you know the deal, you know. Yeah.
Well, man, I'm old school, man. You know.
Yeah.
And all of my daughters, they all appreciated that. As they got older, said, "Dad, we appreciated that she kind of had some rules." I said, "Well, babe, I was looking out for you. I mean, you didn't like it at the time, but I'm sure now you understand that there's a reason for that."
Absolutely, absolutely.
At any rate, that was in the late 90s, early 2000s, we were doing that. And then after that, I started trying to do my own thing, man, in the 2000s. And in fact, I have several